Hey, Chapter 5 from Travel Tales from Unknown Realities. I'm Michael Peter Langevin, the author. Learning witchcraft at the Poor Farm. During my last year of high school, I was living in a small town with a small town in a three-bedroom house with two good friends. It was my hometown that I had grown up in. I was living just down the street a ways. David and Randy were my friends. Many other characters moved in and out and hung around this house. It was the 1970s, and it became a hub, an unofficial commune of sorts. We called the place the Poor Farm. We even published an amateur magazine called Poor Farm Comics and Stories. You can still find it online some places. Friends were frequently visiting from all the surrounding cities. We had wild parties most weekends with crowds of people. At other times, groups would sit around the fire in the backyard discussing philosophy and the meaning of life, goals, hopes, fears, late into the night. I had long before begun reading everything I could get my hands on to do with magic, the metaphysics, and the occult. Randy came home one night and woke me up. I met a real witch, he said. Her name is Angela. She has studied with the witches of Salem. She said she would teach us witchcraft for no charge. She even said both of us could come on a regular basis. So on Friday night, we went to Angela's apartment. Angela and I are still friends. She was so exciting and exotic to me. She taught me and Randy countless things about metaphysics, among them, how to cast spells, which is pretty big, how to make amulets, how to perceive and communicate with ghosts, how to make knowledge and skills work for you in the occult realms. The work the three of us did on past life regression was so powerful, it convinced me of the reality of past life regression and reincarnation. Angela used techniques where we realized we relaxed our entire body, mind, and spirits, and we called in past knowledge or sent out present day spirits to experience our past lives. I was, at one point, a graveyard near a friendless caretaker's home in the Old West in the USA. I was a near hermit. I helped by playing the organ and digging graves, burying the dead. Interesting coincidence with this life. I was a Christian peasant warrior who died in a meaningless war. I was a powerful Mayan priestess, a traveling healer during the Black Plague in Europe, Chinese warrior, an African hunter, a Native American weaving woman, a Russian serf, an androgynous defender on the borders of Atlantis. Yeah, I got a lot around in my past lives. Most of us did. Reading and talking to the screen is a little, I think it's almost working. The lives I re-experienced with all the details were beyond my imagination at that point. After these regressions, my world was greatly expanded. How about this side? We'll try that, to say the least. Eventually, Randy and I learned everything that Angela had to teach us. Now you are ready for the big time, she said. Lori Cabot, the head witch of Salem, is teaching at Salem College. She starts in January. She can teach you what I haven't. Randy felt he had learned enough about witchcraft. I signed up for the class with Lori Cabot called Witchcraft 101. She and I hit it off. She is a powerful, charismatic woman who carries the title the official witch of Salem. I can't write down everything I learned from her. Some of it is too involved, and some It's tricky to remember all the important details. Learning to astral travel as at will was a great importance to me. It takes quite a bit of preparation, but still to this day, with the preparation, I am capable. I think anybody is. Eventually, the class ended, but Lori and I stayed friends, and I attended her gatherings and Sabbaths for a while. A few years after completing college, I moved to San Francisco and studied with Starhawk and Z Budapest and many other pagan and witch and occult and metaphysical teachers. I had studied many forms of magic and alternative spirituality, but witchcraft was my first doorway into these areas. The magical tools and techniques I learned in those years were powerful and often very effective. However, spiritual and magical workings are not science. It's important to note, and this will get you, that, that they really aren't empirical. You can't depend on the same results or necessarily the exact results you ask for. When they work, they're powerful and bring about amazing results. When they don't work, there's a reason, and they disappoint a lot of people. For example, during the Port Farm time, I used to cast spells to guarantee that any important party would be wildly memorable and unique. I would dance around a fire chanting. I prayed to the four directions and the many spirits. I arranged rocks, branches, and dirt to create ritualistic patterns on the ground around the Port Farm. I envisioned what the party would be like and what it would feel like after. Some people, really, this is truth, remember those parties 50 years later. Big crowds and open doors sometimes attract rather unruly groups. If worst case came to worst, the groups were at odds with each other. And since before they came, they didn't like each other. They were gangs of sorts. And we were stuck with them once they arrived. Or were we? One night, it looked like some serious fights were going to break out. There were many people who didn't like each other. The fires were being built bigger, and the alcohol was being drank faster. A series of gang fights were just about to break out. Tension and threats filled the air. This was, of course, not something we, as the arrangers, wanted, as it could result in damage to both place and property and people. That particular evening, I gathered all the inner circle of the Poor Farm. We went up on a hill that overlooked where everybody was partying. It took me a great effort to convince all of these people who weren't really trained or believed in magic that we could make it rain. But they trusted me and my leadership. And together, I led rain songs and they joined in, and we envisioned the rain and we called in the rain, and the clear skies clouded over and it poured. The party ended. The gang fights were averted. That time the magic worked. Without joint efforts, focused energy, and willpower, shared efforts make a big difference, and shared vision and magic, shared intent. Yet when I gathered friends from the same group to do money magic for the Poor Farm and our group events, it didn't work. To this day, I think we all had so many unresolved financial issues that we just couldn't get beyond them. And magic wasn't strong enough to do that for us. Focusing our attentions in that area was rather useless. As said, magic is not an exact science with reliable results. But I learned more than anything else from the witches of Salem and from Poor Farm was that there are expanded realities to explore. And some knowledge and power from other realities can be brought into this to alter the physical reality we live in, especially with joint community efforts. They also taught me the importance of laughter, celebration, comradeship, dance, and song.